This is the Fresh Ice Podcast.
Punches him while he's down. That's a mistake. The captain tempted to twist his head off like a bottle cap.
George Larocque and Ty Domi are going at one another. Larocque's hit him a couple of good left hooks.
Tries to slip to the fence and walk in. Nice move. Another nice move. He scores. What a goal. It doesn't get any better than this.
Here are your hosts, Brian Goralnik and Jon Gallo.
Hello and thanks for tuning in. This is Fresh Ice. I'm Brian Goralnik, sitting with Jon Gallo. I'm not going to put myself outside the realm of being the hockey outsider still, so I think I'm still going to claim that role. Hockey outsider for the Rob Dibble Show, and of course sitting with the producer, the board op for the Rob Dibble Show as well, John.
Hey.
You did a great job last year with the Bruins blogs. I was on the show, we were talking. We're both hockey guys, and you approached me a little while ago, actually, and said, hey, do you want to do a hockey podcast together?
Yeah.
Said, absolutely. I mean, what is there to think about? So that brings us to where we are right here. This is Fresh Ice.
Yes, and you do a great job when we have you on during hockey season, telling us about the entire league. And I mean, personally, I like to stick close to my Bruins.
Yes.
I'm a huge Bruins fan, and I love them through and through. And I try to know everything about them. And you're great because you know everything about everybody else, as well as the Bruins. And
No, but you definitely have me in the Bruins. You focus in on them, and you do a tremendous job. Which leads me to your Twitter. I think maybe we should give those out real quick, just in case people want to be able to follow us or look us up as they're listening to this podcast. I know you posted all of your blogs up on your Twitter and I believe your Facebook page as well, but how can people find you?
Mostly on Twitter. I stick away from Facebook too much. Twitter, I'm at J_Gallo, GALLO 26.
Cool. And I'm at Brian, BRIAN, Goralnik, GORALNIK. That's it. I didn't put any numbers in there. Fortunately, with my last name, I'm the only Brian Goralnik in the world. Makes an email easy. Makes, obviously, a Twitter name easy. The challenge, though, is when I'm like, yeah, I'm at Brian Goralnik. I'm like, okay. How do you spell Goralnik? I mean, I remember back when I was a kid, and we'll talk about this, John. I kind of want to know your hockey background, but I remember when I was a kid playing hockey, my coach called me Goralnik. He put a D in there, Goralnik. And at the end of the year, he's like, my gosh, there's no D in your name. Why'd you let me call you Goralnik? And I was like, Coach, as long as you were calling my name, I didn't care, because that means I'm getting on the ice.
That's right.
I enjoyed it. But yeah, so a couple of hockey guys together wanting to talk it. I know you said Kurt Kaplan is also a hockey guy. He'll join us.
He also works on the Rob Dibble Show. He's a big hockey guy. He's got tons of stories. He played his entire life. I listen to his stories almost every day, and I can't get enough of them. He's always got something, and it's awesome to hear. Big Whalers guy too. So you Connecticut listeners, you'll hear a lot of Whalers talk on this show.
Maybe we can rally a movement to get him back.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah, that may be for a conversation for a different show. It's good to have a lot of hockey fans. I mean, listen, I don't care who anybody roots for. As long as you're a hockey fan, I'm on your same team, because we're almost like a cult. We got to stick together.
Yeah, we're the third of the four major sports. I mean, if you include soccer in that, I do, because I was a soccer player growing up.
Sure.
But it's third, and we're getting there. We're starting to pass baseball finally.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to touch football, not yet.
And I honestly, unfortunately, don't think we're going to touch basketball either.
Oh, basketball! I completely forgot about basketball.
Basketball's on a rise.
Yeah.
So wait, you think we're 4 out of 4?
Yes, I think we're 4 out of 4. I think it's football, maybe basketball now, baseball, and then hockey.
Okay.
And I think hockey's climbing over baseball.
I'm with you on that, yes. I think it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, but hockey is right on the tails. And I think the more baseball has not controversy, but just we're not talking about the excitement of games. We're talking about, are the balls juiced? We're talking about the netting. We're talking about the negatives and that being in such a bad light. And even I'm hearing youth-wise, numbers are not as good for football as well, but I'm with you. I don't think we're touching football, but baseball, I think, and especially if they're heading towards a lockout, I think they're in some hot water, and hockey will be right there to jump on them. them. I think hockey is one big TV deal away from being really, really relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I think being not so much on ESPN has really hurt hockey.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really get the coverage they should, maybe. And, TSN, they're all over Canada, but we don't see them in America too much. And
yeah.
I think you're right. If we get the TV deal, it's really taken off because we're so set on these local stations covering their local teams that, we're lucky in Connecticut where most of us get Nesson. We can watch Bruins games. We get MSG and watch Ranger games. And we get Yes Network and watch Devils games.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Other
we get
areas
a good
aren't
mix.
as fortunate.
No. And we're in that kind of metropolitan area where we get, like you said, all those games. And then, of course, add to that the games NBC does, NBC
Right.
Sports Network. So we get those Wednesday night rivalry games. We get the Saturday, Sunday occasional game. But that's the problem, is that basketball you're seeing almost every night. Baseball you're seeing all the time. Football you see every time it's played. It's once, a couple nights a week, but that's all is played. Whereas hockey is played on a basketball schedule, but you're only getting 1 to 2, maybe at best 3 games a week on a national network, and that's at best. I mean, that's during the holidays when you're getting the Winter Classic game in there, squeezing that in as well. So if you get just more exposure, more of that every night or every other night kind of game on national networks, that definitely helps create the buzz because people love the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. It's the best playoffs in sports, and I think most sports fans, not just hockey fans, will agree with that.
Yep, absolutely.
Baseball's great and all, but it's baseball can be a really boring game, and I think that's the best part for hockey anyway. If baseball still has these problems and keeps having these problems, hockey's so exciting that kids are going to want to watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's nonstop, fast, and hard hitting.
Yeah, and even close games, even games that might feel boring because there's not a lot of goals scored. And let's not kid ourselves. The goal horn is the number one thing we want to hear. Yeah. That's what's fun about any sport. Scoring wins in any sport. But with that being said, a close game, a 0-0 game, is sometimes even better because it's more tense and you feel that energy. It's palpable, and even not just in the arena, but through the TV, you could feel that energy. And I think that's even somewhere where hockey has on basketball as well, is that every play matters so much, or even football to that matter. Every play matters so much in hockey that the only game that's not fun to watch realistically is a blowout game, and you don't get many of those in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look at these playoffs. There was maybe 1 or 2 blowout games. Yep. Other than that, it was all within 2 goals, and those 2 goals, maybe if it's a 3-goal game, it's because there's an empty net.
Yeah. And
I just think that's one of the best parts about hockey is pulling the goalie and getting extra guy on the ice because it makes it so much interesting because you're never out of the game. You can be down 2 goals and still come back.
It's very true. I mean, we've seen that a few times, and actually, I believe this postseason we saw somebody put up a quick, I thought it was a quick 3, something like that.
San Jose,
that's right.
Vegas.
Yep. Absolutely. So they that's right. It's exactly right. Yeah, late in the game, and it came back. They got the win. It was a huge game. I think it might have been, weren't they down like 5-1 or something at that point? It was
a 4-goal game. They had the 5-minute major, which maybe should have been a major. Maybe we'll get into that.
What is your thought on that?
I think it was just the fact that it looked worse than it actually was. I don't think he was hit nearly as hard in the head as the refs may have saw it. Just because he landed on his head and, there was some blood. Mm-hmm. It looked really bad. I can see why if you're not in the moment or if you're not seeing it that close, you call that a major. And now we actually have that new rule for replays going in for this season where we're not going to have a situation like this. And they'll probably, if this were to happen next year, it'd probably be reversed into a minor at most.
I would think so, yeah.
But that's hockey. It happens sometimes, and you have to be able to kill it. I know it's a 5-minute penalty. They score, they stay on it.
4 goals.
Yeah, you can't let up 4 goals in 5 minutes. I mean,
it's terrible. That's terrible. So all right, we both agree on that. I do think it was a penalty. So I definitely don't think it would have been reversed to no call at all. But I don't think it was a major. I think the major was a major overreaction to a player getting injured, and the referee wanted to kind of save his own. As you know, and it just ended up being a deadly call because of the efficiency by the Sharks. And like we said, you can't let up 4. You got to look yourselves in the mirror. At that point, if you're complaining about the referees making that call, then you're looking at the wrong enemy. you're looking at the wrong enemy. It's yourself. You got to play better than that. And I remember the coach came out and he was all upset. Gerard Gallant, he was like, this is what a terrible call cost. No, what cost you that game was your inability to kill a penalty, a big-time penalty in a big-time spot.
And I know a lot of people say, I said this when it happened too, Vegas lost their best penalty killer on that.
Yes, they did. But
still, you have 5 other guys on the ice, 4 other guys on the ice, whatever it is. You have to be able to make that kill. You can't let up 4 goals in 5 minutes. That's insane.
And even if you don't make the kill, let up 2 in 5.
Right.
Let up 3 in 5. I mean, you just don't let up 4. That's almost a goal a minute. That's a goal every minute in 20 seconds, 25 seconds. I mean, that's not the right math, but you know what I mean. Every goal, minute and 15 seconds, I think, is the better math.
And I feel like I know it's probably been done before, but I don't think it's been done before. I
remember something that.
Yeah.
I remember the Bruins did it to the Maple Leafs.
Yep, 2013.
But that was, I think, 3 goals, correct?
It was.
I thought it was 3 quick in the final minute or 2 minutes or something like that.
It was, I think, Horton, Lucic, Bergeron to get it to overtime, and then Bergeron in overtime.
In overtime, yeah. So I still don't count that because the overtime rest, it's a different game.
Right.
I don't think it was a long overtime, if I recall that game correctly.
It was like 2 minutes in.
It was,
scored.
Yeah, it was very quick, but still, I mean, you got that rest period. 4 in that 5-minute span.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything like that. I really can't. So, yeah, I mean, we get a little more exposure. We could see hockey taking off, and obviously we're trying to do our part here, John. But I am curious because I know you're quite the golfer, so you and I, sports-wise, in terms of, at least I don't know if you played hockey, but I'm about to find out. I know sports-wise we definitely have similar passions on that, but what is it about hockey, and when did you kind of start your love for the game?
I've liked it since, I was really young. All my good friends and growing up in school all played hockey. Like my whole bunch of guys on my soccer team all played hockey, and I was like, I want to play hockey. I got to get out there. My mom was like, no, I think you're going to get stepped on the throat, and you're probably going to lose your head. So no. And it was just, I'm still not over it. I'm still not.
Your mom preventing you from decapitation by a skate?
Yeah. Let it happen, Mom.
Come on, Mom.
No, I always wanted to play, but even though I didn't get to, I was always going to my friends' games and watching, and I always watched the Bruins, and I don't know, I just had a passion for the game, and 2011 really kind of pushed me forward because I finally got to see the Bruins win, and I've heard all the stories of the past, how they were so good in the 70s and 80s.
Very good.
And, then early 2000s and the 90s, they weren't great.
Nope.
And then early 2000s come along, they start to get better. You get Bergeron, you get Chara, you get all these guys, and 2011 comes around, and I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked, and I've been hooked since, and there's no going back now.
That's it. We've made a fan out of you for life. Well, I like that. It is a good story, and I can see a similarity from soccer to hockey. So I'm not like mind blown that you like the game, because in terms of the way the game is played, and I'm not telling you to teach you, know very much how the game is played, but just for the listeners out there, I mean, if you've never played the game of lacrosse or soccer, when you play lacrosse, they kind of say, oh, that's hockey, on your feet. That's ground hockey. I disagree. I think soccer is more ground hockey than anything, because the only thing that's similar to me in lacrosse and hockey is the fact that there's a net, there's a goalie, and you have the sticks with a ball or a small rubbery type object. But in terms of the actual layout and utilizing space and seeing lanes and passing and offside, maneuvers and things like that, I think it's more like soccer, and because I never played soccer, I was not great with my feet. I was more of a hands guy, but I love FIFA on Xbox, and so I started to notice that, and I realized why I was good, because I had a great mind for hockey. I was never. At times I was the best player on the ice, but I was never gifted the best. I never had the best set of hands, or I never had the best shot. What made me at times the best, and I'm talking about when I was younger, I was captain of my team and whatnot. What made me the best then was my mind for the game. I was able to read plays, and that was my career. I was offense, switched to defense because I didn't have the speed, I didn't have the hands or the scoring ability necessarily to stay as a winger or center. So they put me at defense because I could see the game phenomenally. And so I stayed kind of back into play, and I probably put up like 30 assists. I only put up a couple goals, in my defensive career in high school. So I'm talking 2 years we played division hockey. I maybe had 3 goals, but I had a ton of assists. That was my skill for the game, and I could see that similar game in soccer. And listen, hockey players warm up by playing soccer, not lacrosse.
Right, that's right. No, I agree with you completely with soccer being closer. And I played soccer my whole life, and I watch hockey, and there's always cycling.
Yep.
Soccer, there's maybe not so much cycling, but it's always, if there's a space, you fill it.
Right.
And that's hockey. If there's a space, you fill it. Cut off the passing lanes. Don't just attack the puck if it's not your guy with the puck.
Right.
Fill in space, cover your guy.
Right.
And that's soccer.
Yeah, and even to that point, there's not cycling in soccer, but there is that like you said, that finding the space where it's kind of going over, and you're not really advancing forward. You're just kind of working the area and continuing to find that free space until something bigger opens up.
Exactly.
And that's that play on the boards. And those are the teams that win it. The teams that can win the battle on the boards, who can cycle the puck down low, bring it back high. Now they have the view of the point. They have the view of down low. They have a view at the goal. Those are the teams that go deep, and the Blues did a great job of that this past season. That's why they ended up as Stanley Cup champions. They didn't have necessarily the prettiest goals, but they would get some kind of garbage goals. They would get, plays that would break down because they won the battle on the boards, and the biggest thing is they just have some cannons along that blue line.
Oh yeah,
they got rockets.
They did a great job of crashing the net. It was something I was saying all series long for the Bruins: crash the net, because Binnington was giving up a lot of juicy rebounds, but they just weren't getting it done. And when they did do it, they scored.
Yeah.
But the Blues were just crashing the net on almost every shot, and Tuukka didn't give up a lot of rebounds, but when he did, the Blues were there and they were capitalizing. Ultimately, won them the series.
Well, I think that shows the glaring hole for the Bruins. I mean, their defense, their blue line is their weak spot. They can, in my opinion, because I'm not a believer in Chara anymore. I know he's got the big body presence. I know he's got a long reach, but everybody in the league has the speed to beat him. Everyone.
Yeah.
And that's no knock to him. He's a hell of a player, and I really hope the Bruins make another run, because he's coming back, I believe, for at least one more year. Did he announce it was going to just be one more? Or I don't think
he signed a 1-year contract.
That's what I thought.
Towards the end of the season.
It seems like it. It feels like his farewell. It probably should be his farewell, him and Thornton maybe, but point being is outside of Chara, Krug, and McAvoy, there's not a whole lot of depth. I mean, your 5 and 6 guy is not like the Blues 5 and 6 guy. They got tons of production, and just size wise, their top 4 are 4 twin towers. I mean, it's huge. And so part of that reason why the Bruins couldn't get to the net was just they couldn't find their way through. And the Blues figured out a secret, in early January, and they never looked back from there. I wonder if the Blues are going to be a good team though next year.
I think they're going to be good. I don't think they're going to be in the Stanley Cup Finals again. I think maybe they're a playoff team in a wild card spot. I think
they can make the playoffs. I mean, to me, it all hinges on Binnington. Is Binnington the same guy, or was that just a rookie run?
As much as I want to think it's a rookie run because of what he did to my Bruins, I don't know. He just looked... I really don't know, because there was times where he looked really bad.
Yes.
And, that game where he got pulled.
Yep. I think, finished 7-2, something like that?
Yeah. And one of the only blowouts in the playoffs, like we talked about. He has those games, and sometimes you can't blame everything on him, because his defense, like the Bruins just outplayed the Blues that game.
Did.
Like they blatantly. But he has
some
those
for the other games.
Right. And I mean, his numbers weren't off the charts. They were above average, but not crazy great. I think he's going to be a above average goalie next year, but I don't think he's going to be in like the Vezina conversation.
I guess we differ there. I guess this is our first area where we differ. I'm with you. He had rookie games. I think that's more of a testament to the Bruins' ability to put pucks in the net. The Bruins' ability to play strong hockey. They just weren't consistent enough. What makes me think that Binnington is going to be a star as a goalie in this league was his poise, his bounce back ability. So every single game, for the most part, that he had a bad game the night before or the game before, the very next game, he was on his game. And goalies who can display that kind of resilience tend to make it pretty far in this league, tend to make it a long way. That's why I think he might be a good, but I'm nervous. And I'm also biased because I picked him up in my fantasy hockey league last year, and I am able to keep him this year for an absolute bargain. For a 14th round draft pick, I'm keeping Binnington. So I'm very biased. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to be unbiased as possible. I do think he is going to be a great goalie because of that reason.
I'm just looking at his numbers from this past year. He played 32 games, 189 goals against average, and 927 save percentage. This actually are pretty good. A lot better than I thought.
Yeah, he was. I could definitely attest to that because, again, I had him on my team, so I saw all of his games. He was really, really strong. In fact, he was my number one vote. I think he got robbed from a Calder Trophy. I think he should have been Rookie of the Year. And the reason being is nothing against Elias Pettersson. Elias Pettersson is a great player, had a fantastic year. However, to me, it should also impact the award winner if the team does better, especially because of that one particular person. Binnington took over the starting reins when the Blues were in last place and brought him all the way, not only to the playoffs, but where it shouldn't matter anymore, because I don't think playoff success should determine, because it's not necessarily fair to Pettersson. His team didn't make the playoffs, but the fact that Binnington was able to make that much of an impact as an every-night player for the Blues to go from last place to at least making the playoffs, and Pettersson really just connected well with Besser. And again, no knock to Pettersson. I think he's going to be a great player, but I see a bigger impact. And again, it's no knock to Pettersson that his team didn't make the playoffs, but is it any knock to Binnington that he didn't get the opportunity to start from game one? I mean, that's not his fault either. He had to work his way up to the system. His limited time, while it was shorter than Pettersson, I thought was a bigger impact to the Blues and a better performance than Pettersson's full time.
But it really is the same. It's the same reason why Berube didn't win Coach of the Year. It's because he was only there for half of the season. He wasn't there for the downfall in the beginning.
That's true.
He was there to fix them.
That's true.
But I mean, I find it hard to give a trophy like that to a guy that was only around for a little less than half of the season, when, you know, Elias Pettersson was there the entire year putting up outstanding numbers. Like, he could have been in the top of, if he wasn't on Vancouver and Vancouver wasn't as bad as they are, he's on a better team, you probably see him in the Hart conversation. And I think that had to weigh into the voters' minds there, that he was there the entire season. Binnington played less than half. And that's hard to give it a Rookie of the Year to a guy that wasn't around for every game. Plus, it's hard for a goalie because you're not playing every game. You have to have some rest.
He did. He had obviously nights off.
Yeah, skaters are playing every night too. And he's still putting up that production almost every night.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Pettersson almost had 30 goals. So you can't go wrong either way, but I was very, very much behind Binnington solely because the impact that he had on the Blues from where they were to where they ended up because of him. Because had they stuck with Jake Allen, the Blues I don't even think would have made the playoffs, not even sniffed the playoffs. So that was my biggest gripe in the offseason, I guess, in terms of the awards. I thought most of the other awards were pretty much, on par. I thought nothing was a surprise. I was going to be very upset if Robin Lehner won the Vezina. Nothing against Lehner, but it was a two-headed monster throughout most of that year. So that would have been kind of a slap to Thomas Greiss, who I thought also had a good year. Who I believe Bishop ended up. Vasilevsky. Yep, that's right. Vasilevsky won it. And again, I mean, that's how do you argue with that? I thought maybe Bishop, because he had a fantastic goals against average, but Vasilevsky was on the best team by far. It's
hard to not give an award to a goalie who was playing on the best team the entire year, like the President's Trophy winners. Mm-hmm. It's hard to not give that award, a Vezina, to that goalie. Like, I'm pretty sure when Tuukka Rask won in 2013, the Bruins were President Trophy winners that year.
I believe so. Yeah.
Braden Holtby last year, the Capitals were President Trophy winners then.
Yeah, when you're that good, when your team is that good, and you're playing 60 games in a season, that's mainly on your shoulders, because if you're bad, your team's not the President Trophy winner. But it's just too many good teams in the NHL. Well, looking at the clock, I mean, we're almost out of time here, John. This is fun. We're going to do things like this consistently, and I think the more you and I grow, I think the more the show grows, we're going to be able to expand the timeline. Right now we're just shooting for about a half hour. I think we're somewhere in around that number. But listen, if you want to get involved, if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to be a part of this podcast, you can certainly check out our Facebook page. We're going to be setting that up. Actually, probably should have set it up before the show, now that I think about it.
By the time this drops, it'll be set up.
By the time it drops, but the problem is I'm trying to think of where to tell them to go, and I don't know if at Fresh Ice on Facebook is taken or at Fresh Ice on Twitter is taken.
True. Well, hit us up on our Twitter and Facebook accounts, you get at us. Tell us what you want us to talk about, and maybe we'll get featured in the show.
I like that. Let the listeners dictate where we're heading with this. I'm digging that. This is why Jon Gallo is a producer here. He knows his stuff.
Well, it makes my job easier as a producer to let other people tell me what to do.
It's like, what do we want? Ask the people. People don't know.
If I get to be less creative, that's a positive, right?
But you're being creatively less creative, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. I didn't think of that.
You got to put a spin on it. Just like, I do a 9 to 5. I'm a salesman. I'm a glorified salesman. You know what it says on my business card? Project consultant. Because it has a nicer ring to it, Listen, we're both hockey fans, and we're going to be happy to do more of this. I think for now we're talking, we might start off weekly or bi-weekly, figuring out how this is going to break down. But once we get to the season, you could look forward to this show every week, I'm hoping, as long as, something doesn't happen to us. And, knock on wood, I'm good, you're good, you look healthy, I feel healthy. So, yeah, this is exciting. I'm pumped to get this going. I was hoping we were going to get Kurt in here, but he's the man behind the scenes doing the thing over there.
He's the man behind the Rob Dibble Show. He's got all the sounders, the imaging, everything you hear on the Rob Dibble Show. You can thank Kurt for. He's awesome. I love having him here. I love working with him, and I can't wait to have him on this program.
Dude, he does a phenomenal. I'm hoping that we could use his voice. By the way, guys, John and I are here. Kurt Kaplan is like. If you could see my hand, I'm trying to reach to the top of the ceiling. His voice was made for radio, for promos, for literally whatever you want it to be. He's got that set of pipes, so he does a tremendous job. It was nice meeting him today. Looking forward to having him on, and looking forward to, again, potentially hearing from you guys. So we want to know what's going on. Hit John up on his Twitter page. Hit me up on my Twitter page, and look out on Facebook for it. I can't imagine if Fresh Ice is taken. Can't imagine you can't search Fresh Ice and at least find our page. We're going to be somewhere on it. If Fresh Ice is not taken, then we'll be at Fresh Ice, right?
That's right.
2 fresh guys hanging out, maybe a 3rd fresh guy, keeping it fresh. So
before we wrap up, I don't want to promise any guests because we don't really know where we're going to go with this, but we definitely want to have guests on for you guys to listen to. And we're talking to Kurt Kaplan. He's going to be one of our guests, I believe. We also work with Bob Joyce. He used to work for the Hartford Whalers. He's now the play-by-play voice of UConn hockey.
Yep.
And UConn women's basketball.
We'd love to have him on.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try to grab him, get some hockey talk, UConn hockey. Maybe we get some connections with UConn through that. Get some of the UConn, maybe Coach Kavanaugh from UConn. Maybe some of the guys on the team.
I mean, I know on the Rob Dibble Show, you guys had Linda Cohen on.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are a lot of resources. Listen, we are at iHeartMedia here. So, actually, in while we're on that point, we're going to be on Facebook. We're going to be on Twitter. John and I each have our own Twitters. But with that being said, in a short while, we're going to be on the iHeartRadio app.
Yes.
You're going to be able to find us, and that's going to be called Fresh Ice. So, if you look at Fresh Ice on the iHeartRadio app, search that up. You could take us anywhere you go. And that's going to be exciting. So with all these resources here at iHeartMedia through ESPN, because we're also ESPN Radio, we're going to be able to bring you some exclusive stuff. I'm curious to just talk to some of these hockey fans in terms of on a more personal level, not even necessarily about hockey, but about them and kind of like what we did today, John, why you like hockey.
Yeah.
I played hockey my whole life since I was 2. That's why I like hockey. That was my thing. I remember my brother teaching me in my garage, how how to cheat without the referee seeing, essentially.
Oh, so the real stuff, the stuff you need to know.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. He told me when you're standing in front of here's the one tidbit before we head out today. If you're learning how to play hockey and you're a defenseman, you're standing in front of the net, what you do is you take the stick and you pull it up to your chest level, and then you put it on the back of the player, and you just push it down sharply or down the back of the player so that it catches his pants, because the pants have a big pad around the waist section to kind of cover your lower back and your stomach. It catches the pants and it'll end up pulling them backwards, but it doesn't look like you did anything. Your stick's up here. How did you trip him down there? There's no way.
Oh, what a great way to end the show right there.
That's it.
I think that's got to be the...
If you want to know how to cheat, just ask me.
That's
I got
right.
you.
Hit him up on Twitter.
Hey, John, this was fun. Keep us tuned. This has been Fresh Ice. Thank you for listening, and we hope to be back with you soon.